Hey everyone, it's Tim and Alex and Tim. We're back with another making lo-fi beats.
Lo-fi and chill with
Yeah.
Tim and Alex.
How are you doing today?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
When the weather's like this, I feel like I'm in Groundhog Day.
Mm.
Because there's not really like a, sunrise, sunset.
Right.
It's just kind of
It's
gray
gray.
all day.
Yeah.
And then when you're, in work mode, I don't know. I'm just ready for the weather to change. And I'm being a little spoiled because last week was super nice. It does feel like it's transitioning. So it's just this week's been kind of weird.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Hanging in there.
Nice.
Ready to make some more beats. So if you're tuning in, thanks. Hopefully this is informative in some way. If you've tuned in for the last couple iterations, we really just wing it as we go. So it'll probably be a lot more of that. But yeah, I guess we can just dive right into it.
Yeah, you were, real quick, you were in Norfolk, Virginia?
Yeah,
close to Virginia. Norfolk.
Yes.
And close to Virginia Beach?
Yeah.
Lots of producers, Something in the Water is out there.
Yeah.
Did you feel it when you were out there?
I did kind of feel it, and the weather got progressively nice as we were there. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, like, you have the waterfront, and then you also have the beach, but you have these, like, nice, like, I don't know, we stayed, like, in downtown, but a lot of downtown was, like, walkable, and we could just, like, hit up all these different spots. Yeah, I don't know, just, like, that sea air is just really nice. You could definitely hear, like, a lot of the musical inspiration that's come out of that scene, i.e. Pharrell, Missy Elliott, like, that kind of, like, out, like, summertime vibe. You could definitely tell, like, we were kind of only there, like, for a few days, like, and spring had just kind of started, but you could definitely feel like in the summer, like, it would be a nice place to hang out and
be outside,
have songs like that to kind of soundtrack your day.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
No, there's something about it. We have a conference that hopefully will bring this show over to them in October, and I help this I edit a podcast on the side. And this episode's like Virginia outdoors, anything with hiking, mountains. She's always talking about the Shenandoah Mountains. But this week, before I even realized you were going to Norfolk, the episode was on like the riverway and the walkway. They have like a 10-mile path. That's awesome. It was just like, I got to go check this place out. So I'm glad you went. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, nice place. Super accessible from here, about 3 hours. Very quiet. I think it might just be off season, but like... people were kind of scattered all across the city, which was nice too. Like it's kind of fun being in a bigger city, but being able to kind of explore and not feel like congested. So that was cool too.
I guess like a bigger city, but outdoorsy.
Yeah.
So I want to check that waterway.
Yeah.
But cool. Dreamville Festival is coming up, so lots of music's gonna be in the area. There's I found out there's Everyday People is like a collective, and they're gonna throw a day party the day before. Cool. Don't even worry about it. I got the plug, so we are gonna be in there.
That's awesome.
And hopefully we'll be in Dreamville in some sort of another. But a lot of our spaces are opening. How's the DML looking in terms of music?
Yeah. So, hopefully this isn't premature to mention, but. To my understanding, we'll open up after spring break to a walk-in reservation basis, which we've never had before. So essentially, if you just want to come in and use the space, if we have space available at the time, you're more than welcome to just hop in a booth. We'll check to make sure that you've gone through an orientation. If you have, you're set to go. If you come in and our rooms are fully occupied, you can just come back whenever there's space again, or you can default to our usual system, which is making a reservation request through our library's website. So that's kind of like a secondary way of getting access to the rooms now, but we'll have it so where if you want to just come in for the day, work on music or some audio project for 2 hours, you can do that pretty much on a walk-up basis.
Nice. So, super excited to see those opening up. Our other spaces are opening up in more capacity as well. And like always, a lot of the stuff that you see us play with today, in one form or another, is available to you, whether it's a digital audio workstation, a MIDI controller, access to microphones, stuff you can take home, stuff you can use here in the library. Just come up to the Ask Us desk and give them a question, give them an ask, and they'll set you on the right path. But thanks for tuning in, and now we're gonna make some beats.
Did you want to mention Wolfstock or?
Wolfstock. Okay. We will have a booth bringing out some of our fun toys to you. Wolfstock's gonna be on Millerfield on April 25th, And it's going to be a live day of music. It's a Monday, so that's always fun and festive. It's going to be great weather. Knock on wood. And yeah, we're going to bring some of our toys so you guys can come and play with them. And we look forward to seeing you all out there.
Cool.
We're going to have a great booth.
Yeah. I'm excited.
We got to figure out power. So maybe a couple generators. Yeah. So we'll figure that out as we go.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's dive in. So I'm working in Ableton again. Alex had sent me a couple 50s inspired songs over the last couple days, and I really liked this one. It's Foolish Little Girl by the Shirelles. I think they had done another like popular song. I can't remember.
Let me look it up.
Yeah. Something that either got covered or sampled.
I think there's a song like Meet Me on the Roof. Shirelles. Will you love me tomorrow? Will you love me tomorrow?
Yeah, I think that was a big one.
That's a big one.
Look up Shirelles Beyonce. I want to say there's like a connection between the two, but maybe not.
Dedicated to the one I love, Beyonce, Tech Rock.
No,
I
guess
know.
not.
We'll figure that out as we go along. But yeah, all girl group, black girl group from back in the day, 50s or 60s. It's got to be based on the sound. And just imagine being able to take that act on the road.
Yeah,
just wild.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll play a little bit of it just to give you an idea.
Now he's found somebody new. And you want him back again.
I do love the theme of this song. Of like, you didn't know what you had when you had it. Now I am with the person, and now you want him back. But he's moved on to a better, like talking their smack. Somebody might have sampled that. I think Exile might have sampled that.
That vocal bit right there is so pretty.
Just clean. Yeah. So what's funny is a little bit of hip-hop history. A lot of the hip-hop that was popularized in the 90s was sampled from their parents' collection, which is a lot of 70s and soul samples, Marvin Gaye.
Right.
But this, I guess, would be considered their grandparents' music, which was probably just too old or not cool enough.
Yeah.
They didn't grow up with it in the house, maybe. But there has been some producers who have gone back to, like, this era and, like, found these little things. But it hasn't been, like, really big.
Right, yeah.
So I think it hit. I was watching the Genius documentary, super great, just to dive into the mind of Kanye and see, like, where he came from. And I guess that Chicago style is to take soul samples, speed them up, put some really cool bass behind it, or slow it down a lot. But it just got me thinking of like just the classic era sampling, and thought that these songs would be fun.
Yeah, I think that was a good point about like kind of like the timeline. 70s being like a huge sample library for like a lot of producers, kind of like in the early 2000s, and even now. And I feel like Lofi in particular seems to pull more from the 50s because of like those kind of vocal melodies. You'll get a lot of like, if you ever check out Chet Baker or Blossom Dearie, like a lot of those like 50s kind of ballroom artists are sampled in a lot of lo-fi because they have that just natural dreamy sound to them. So yeah, this will be great to pull from. I've got it pulled up here. I just dragged the track in.
I still love him. Tomorrow is his wedding day and you keep quiet. It's just like
come on!
Yeah. So, I just, also, I'm not seeing the levels. Are we good?
I think so. I hope so. Nobody's chatted in. Let me check real quick. The video downloaded was canceled. That looks good.
Okay.
Quick, give us a second for some technical. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah,
just want to make sure.
Amazon.
Okay, perfect.
Good call.
Just want to make sure we weren't talking to nothing.
Into the ether.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, all I've done thus far is just drag in our sample into Ableton. Ableton has a really smart feature called Warp, which you can kind of see notated with this yellow button right here. And warp basically will take your sample and allow you to stretch it super long or super short. And in some cases, this can be used as like a whole different sound. Like if you want to kind of get away with using a sample without it being recognizable, you could stretch it out to points where it's essentially unrecognizable, or shorten it in the same amount of way. You can also stretch it just enough to be in time with a BPM. So right now we're at a BPM of about 111, which I tapped out using the tap feature. So that when I play it, if I play, let's say I grab a kit from Ableton. Let's try this one. So like that, Ableton has already recognized that the sample is in the same BPM as the software, so that when we add extra instrumentation to it, it'll just flow seamlessly.
Thank goodness for modern technology.
Yeah, truly. People had to do so much more in the past to get that timing. So.
And let's talk about the past for a second.
Sure.
So for those of you who don't know, sampling is when you essentially take a song that's already been produced and is on vinyl, or it's out in the public, and you kind of remix it and you change it, you manipulate it, and you add your own stuff to it to create your own beat. There's some controversy behind it because some purists, quote unquote, will say, are you doing a lot? Are you really a musician?
Right, yeah.
But you got to think about it. This art form was created by kids who didn't have access to a lot. They did have access to their parents' record collection, though. And then to be able to hear something that you could make sound modern with some drums,
right,
or whether it was just looping the breakbeat on some turntables, to me, that's an incredible art form, because you're taking what you have access to,
right,
and making something totally new out of it. And then, so, you know, some of Dr. Dre's earlier samples, he had to have that ear to know, like, this, with some of my drums, is going to sound really cool to this new generation of kids.
With this voiceover or this singer or whoever. I mean, even people who are technically very skillful, i.e. Ariana Grande, Beyonce, Adele, all have songs that have samples in them, or have, you know, interpolated something from a song, lifted a vocal melody or a beat and reinterpreted it into their own song. So it's just inherently a part of music.
And anybody who thinks that you just add drums to it, then everybody would be able to create incredible music.
Exactly.
You'll see today, just on what we do in this hour and a half, how complicated the puzzle pieces can get.
For sure.
You can take it, Jay Dilla is held in high regard because he would take a millisecond of one sample and connect it to the drums of another sample, and then not have it be on beat but still work somehow. And that's why we hold him in high regard. And same thing with Dr. Dre's ear. Kanye's ear, it's unmatched. There are only so many people who can evoke that sound from older sounds. It's an art form in its own. So between us, I think we obviously care about this art form a lot and appreciate it. But for those of you who might not have known or always wondered what that means when it's called sampling, and rightfully so, a lot of artists might say you can't sample my song because, one, I want to get paid, or two, I want my song to remain my song. And then so it's up to the producer to either manipulate it enough that nobody can tell where it's coming from, which is an art form in its own, or you cut them a piece of royalties that you get from that song and you move along. There's so many different paths that you can take. But it's fascinating. Yeah. Like, I know old DJs would cover the nameplate on the vinyl they were playing so nobody knew where that sample was coming from. You know, it was competitive. It was, you had to dig through a bunch of crates to find that weird record. And it's just it's a whole subculture that you can get into.
What was in the news recently of Dua Lipa's levitating?
Basically,
she's getting sued.
And I think that's fair too. If there's there has to be integrity in it. Sure. Are you adding your own spin on it, or are you making a duplicate of it?
And if you are you crediting the people?
Yes.
You know, are you reaching, like you said, making that legal deal or compromise or something like that? And I mean, I think that is also something to really consider at a high level, that, like, you know, she is a pop star, a cut of, you know, levitating for those that band could be life-changing.
Definitely.
But for, you and I or anyone watching that is just trying to get into it for fun, steal as much as you want.
Yeah, I agree.
Make whatever feels good, and if you start getting attention, definitely make a point to try to at least backtrack and honor or credit those that you've sampled from. But if you're just trying to experiment and get a feel for what it sounds like and looks like, don't be afraid to sample Adele, sample Beyonce, sample these people that have this high standard, because if that's the gateway to you getting into this kind of production, then it's worth it to at least try. Worst they can do is just tell you to take it down. Yeah. And you can still have it for yourself.
Yeah.
So.
And if Adele's team recognizes you, then finds you, you're done it. You're doing it. You're on the right path.
Exactly.
Yeah. Have fun with it.
So we'll go back to... I kind of listened through the song, and I liked this second half of it. I just liked the vocal melodies that were happening. Line is really nice too.
Yeah.
So what I've done with this is I just highlighted it. I cut kind of right where I wanted the remainder of the sample, and then you can do slice to new MIDI track, which is a feature in Ableton, and then it gives you all these options for how you want to slice it. So bar is just meaning, since we have it in time with the software, we can chop it at every bar, so every one of these sections essentially becomes a slice of audio that we can manipulate with. So I'll go into where I've already done that, and it's mapped to this MIDI keyboard, so I can now just play out those slices.
I think you made a great point about this organ riff, because, and back to accessibility, you might not have access to someone who knows how to play the organ, especially, or has an organ to play if they know how to play keys.
Right.
But through sampling, you now have a whole band, a live band in front of you.
Yeah.
Really good recording for back in the day. So, yeah, analog recording.
So I'm just going to open the piano roll. So I've been toggling back and forth with these two buttons right here. This is called the session view, where you can look at individual clips that are aligned to the exact same rows as what we have here. So this number 3, 15 Foolish Girl, corresponds with this, and then this is the slice track that we made, which corresponds with this track right here. So if I toggle back to session view, I can open up what is called a session. It brings up this piano roll, and I can click and activate the same slices that I'm playing on the keyboard, and it shows me which ones that I'm playing.
Oh, that's cool.
So at this point, I could either just kind of mess around here, or I could just draw stuff in the piano roll. And I mean, it's infinite, so I can, create as many loops as I want.
When you have more time, do you like to draw it out on the key? Do you like to draw it out in Ableton, or do you like to feel it and play around with it?
I think true beat makers love, being able to, tactile, feel out the beat.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it is kind of helpful to, hear what it sounds like in a loop, and then maybe I'll get an idea from that loop and play something on top of it that might, add more to it.
Yeah.
So
because you're a beat maker, but a lot of your music, Regular Decision, check it out,
yes.
Spotify. You want to get your beat so that you can play guitar over it, sing over it, and get you're not going to spend the whole 10 hours on just the beat.
And I think that is kind of where people can start to lean into it differently. Like you were saying, the meticulousness of Jay Dilla's beats, he's listening to every single second and picking out something that is significant or stands out, or invokes an emotion that he can pair with something else. And if that's kind of where your heart is at, really in the fine tuning of the beat, then it might be helpful to be able to feel out what you're doing. I think for me personally, once I have that kind of core idea that I can like build off of, I kind of like to move away from that, to add other instrumentation on top of it to see, oh, do I even still want the sample? Like all this other instrumentation is now around it, which sounds cool on its own, that kind of thing. And I've done both for, you know, different types of songs. Sometimes I've kept the sample in, sometimes it's just ended up sounding better without it. So it can be a cool like songwriting tool as well.
I love the process.
Yeah. I kind of like the different like cadences in these two, so I might draw them out.
Okay.
And see where we get with that.
Oh, that sounds nice.
And we can change the length. So I'm gonna make this one bar, and make this one bar, and just see what that sounds like. Let me mute this because I think it's playing both at the same time.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
I can figure out different ones.
That's changing the pitch?
Just different slices, so I can move them up and kind of figure out which feel right.
Ooh, there's something that like on the underside.
I want to get one of those vocals. That was kind of fun.
That was kind of cool. That might be good for that break.
Yeah. I'll keep that one
Later.
kind of in the dock.
Yeah.
And I'll just start a different one. Let's see.
This might be one of those that we gotta hide after this. There's a lot of stuff on this one.
Let's see.
Just that half bar at the end.
I like that.
That's not
I might
bad.
keep that one in the dock too. Come back to it.
When you say keep them in the dock, they're like saved somewhere?
Basically, yeah. So
Gotcha.
like I can create as many different loops as I want, so we can revisit that first one.
Got you.
Yeah, that one. It's got that.
Feeling it?
Yeah, that feeling.
You know, as we get back into doing more events in person, it'd be cool to break down like episode 2 of Genius, like Kanye in the studio, and just have like a screening.
Yeah, that would be cool.
A small screening Netflix with less than 10 people. More, but that'd be fun if we could get a bunch of students. Let me see.
Alright, we'll keep that one too. That was the reaction I needed.
I like that. When you start getting into your own studio and studio sessions, I'm just gonna come to be like, that ain't it, that ain't it, but I'm gonna tell you when it's it. When you hear me say, come on, that's when you know. I like that one too. I like that one too. That's a good Love Rider vibe. Ooh. Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you just let it keep going, it does something to your brain.
No, for sure. So let's see, what do we have now?
That like I still to the next whatever they're saying, that's a good balance.
And I kind of want to like chop that up to where there's like small pauses in between.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's work with that then.
Let's work with
I
that
think
one.
we're feeling that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
You gave it the side head nod.
Move.
Not up and down. Side,
Yeah.
that's like next level head nod.
That's how you know.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start recording that. Nothing's playing. Haha. You have to play the clip. Pro tip.
Are those drums part of the song already? That's a good drum.
So we got a 4-bar loop, and what I might actually do with this is go ahead and so this is gonna get a little gross looking. I still want to keep this channel that has all of our slices, but I kind of want to have this as audio so I can manipulate it even further. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate this whole channel, which I didn't actually do. I just deleted it. I'm gonna also, there's an undo button for good reason.
What's the command function for undo?
Command function is Command Z, which is the same in like Microsoft Word.
Got you.
Anything like that.
That's super useful when
Please
working with digital
workstations. Please don't forget.
I've deleted whole tracks.
Yep.
And just calmly Command Z.
Command Z, and you're good to
right
go.
back.
So Command D, or right clicking and hit duplicate, will duplicate that whole track. I'm gonna delete this part because we don't need it. And then this section right here, Ableton has a option where you can freeze the track. And then if you right click again and hit flatten, it turns it into audio that you can manipulate.
Nice.
And now at this point I can change the volume, I can change the semitones.
Woo. Come on.
I kind of like that one.
Yeah.
Oh, but that one's still nice too. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, at this point, you can kind of just like mess around forever.
Yeah.
And you can also like fine tune the BPM and stuff. So if the slices weren't perfect, kind of like when you slice them up, once you flatten it again, you can like edit it and get the warping right. So I might try to do that actually. So I might set the 1-1.
And what are you listening for?
So I'm listening for that kick. It kind of, so it sounds cool to kind of have that like lean in, but I kind of wanted to start, just for simplicity's sake, right on that kick.
Got you.
So I'm gonna set the one. If I right click, I can set 1-1 here. And then I'm just gonna take that bit, because that's our loop right there, and just start to loop that over and over. And I just did that with Command D. And at this point we can add drums.
I'm so excited because we haven't even added drums yet. These are pre-made drums?
Yeah, these are all from Ableton. In previous sessions, I think I'd used my own, but I want to try to stick to Ableton if I can.
Alright. It's coming in quiet again.
But I think,
that
one was okay. Yeah, carving kit it is, because we can hear it. So I'm going to open up a new MIDI track, and if I go back here, and now it's mapped to, I can hit the arm. Oops, the arm. Now I can.
Back on your MIDI now.
I might turn this up a little with a plugin. So I'm going to go to audio effects here, and then usually utility all the way at the bottom. Can just turn the gain up. Turn it up like right around there. That seems to be clipping. Now where am I here? If you can see this tiny one thing I don't fully love about, maybe it's just using the MIDI keyboard, but you can kind of see like all of these black squares are like empty sample like pads.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have these like, what is it, 16 kind of in the middle of your keyboard, and then the rest
nothing
is
else.
Yeah. So it takes a second to.
And it just does that automatically wherever it wants to put it.
Basically, yeah. I'm sure there's a way to fix it, but I haven't figured that out yet. Let's see, what are we working with? We've got a kick. That snare's pretty, or that hi-hat's pretty nice. Okay. You mentioned a good point about like sampling with drums. I think not a lot of people, but I think it is often seen as easier to just find a sample that is just melodic or just has strings or just has piano, so that you can fully add your own drums. But there is something to be said about having a sample that already has like drums in it, because then you can kind of just work with that and maybe add embellishments that make that drum beat hit harder. So I think we'll try to do that instead of trying to make a completely separate drum beat.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to mess with a hi-hat pattern and see what we can do.
And that's also a producer trick, right? If you don't want the drums, you gotta sample right at the beginning, or find segments that don't have drums and kind of piece the sample together if you want to be the one who enters totally all your own drums. Do you have any training in drums?
No, I wish.
Seems like a good, if you were like,
if
you had known as a kid.
Oh, for sure.
That you were going to go on this path
For
to like
sure.
do at least 2 years of drumming, huh?
And then I kind of want to see, so if we mute that and go back to our slices, I'm curious to see what these other ones sounded like. Oh, I muted it. So we still have to like get those in time. So I'll probably just stick with this one that we have. Oh, where is it? Let's see. And another like interesting thing about Ableton is within every like sound. So this snare, for example. If I pull it up, you can see it gives me all these options here to kind of like manipulate like the drive and the resonance and all these different things. I can change the frequency. I can change the volume. But you can also add effects onto that. So if I wanted, what's something we noticed? Let's try compressor. So I can drag a compressor onto this little like sliver, and it adds this effect. Yeah, just from working with it. But now you can like affect just that snare noise, and if you go to a different sound, that compressor effect is no longer there.
Interesting. Compression makes things. I'm not really sure what it. I know it compresses.
Kind of like squeezes it together. Maybe gives it a little more of like a slap to it.
It makes things sound good.
Slappier.
It's a slappier tool.
Yeah.
Slaps.
And then we can also go back to the sample itself and add some EQ. So we could add like our own bass, which I might try, but I'm curious to see like if let's try channel EQ. I can manipulate different frequencies just within the sample to like get certain elements to pop out. So if I want that kick drum to
really punch.
Yeah.
Nice.
If I turn it off, it's still kind of there, but now it has a little bit more presence.
I definitely like it with that effect on. And is that just a switch or is it a knob?
They're all knobs. So
you
you can turn it up like a certain amount of decibels.
Yeah.
We could also get more intentional and use EQ8. And this is a cool tool because you can hear like specific frequencies.
Oh, that's cool.
And
you throw it underwater for a little while.
Yeah.
That sounds clean. Super clean.
Just to give it some
modern touches.
Yeah, some space. And I like the long tail reverb. And I'm gonna turn if you hear it all the way wet, it sounds like that. So I'm gonna make it a little bit more subtle.
It's so cool because you take this record from the 50s and then you you kind of polish it, and then now it sounds like it's getting towards where we are now in time.
I'm gonna try. So I kind of want to add a bass element to this, and then I might be happy with it, and we can kind of just work on like the arrangement of it.
Okay. Now, since you play bass, do bass lines come more natural to you?
I definitely prioritize them.
Yeah?
I just want them to...
That's kind of like your signature touch?
I want them to sound really nice.
And do you have a bass that you prefer in Ableton? Do you have your favorites?
Not really. But maybe that'll make this fun.
Have you ever seen hip-hop with a stand-up bass?
No.
It is amazing. I've only seen it a couple of times, but they have, live band.
Yeah,
more of like the poetic rappers.
So, I wonder if I turn the frequency down with that one. This is more Daft Punky than I'm.
Then you want.
So I might try. So I can add an auto filter, which essentially just manipulates like the high and low frequencies in its simplest form. So if I drag this all the way down,
now
it's sounding a little bit more.
And how long did it take you to learn these tricks?
So funny enough, I took a MUS 270 class, which is offered here. It's digital audio, songwriting with digital audio workstations. I believe Aaron Keane still teaches it. So a lot of like my introduction to Ableton was just like literally crying in Hunt Studios, like not knowing what to do. I think the first project I exported was somehow like all muted, and to this day I don't know how I did that.
Yes.
But then just kind of like going from there, and then like having a class session with like everyone that, we were all using Ableton at the time before we switched to Logic, because that was kind of the structure of the class. So like someone had taught me like the piano roll, and someone had taught me like being able to like loop things in session view, and I was like, oh, like these small little things. And I think those little gems just started to build up over time, where it was like I would make something, and then I was like, oh, there's got to be an easier way to do this, but I don't care, I'm just gonna export it. And then after powering through, being like someone like presenting something, being like, oh, that was the thing that I knew was like a way to make it easier, but I just didn't know. And like it's just kind of like all taking every little like iteration of something, and maybe just trying something new, or maybe being exposed to like someone else doing it and seeing like a different way to do something. And maybe that process doesn't entirely work for you, but there's like one little thing that they did, either in a YouTube tutorial or like a Twitch stream, that you're like, oh, that, I would definitely use that.
Yeah, so. That's cool.
So let's see what we can do. I also might turn the gain down. rhythm, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Tim Menzel, ladies and gentlemen.
record that one. Nice, and I think I got it with that second take, so I'm gonna just take that and then duplicate it. I kind of want to see what other instruments I can experiment with adding on top of it. Also, I might take an EQ and just cut a little bit more of those bass frequencies.
Foolish little girl.
I'm deciding I don't love the reverb, so I'm gonna hold off on that for the drums.
Yeah, the bass adds that spacey sound.
I kind of want... What are you thinking? What sound would you like to hear? Is there anything... It could be a pad, it could be a string.
That's what I was thinking, maybe some synths, some high synths.
Yeah. Let's see if we can find one we can hear.
That's not a bad sound. That's a clean, crispy sound.
Oh, So, the undo key, again, our best friend. So, I'll want to open up a new MIDI track and arm it so I don't replace it with something identical. There's something else I can do. I'm going to turn this up just a little. Struggling to hear it. So that's what I've been playing. It kind of fits that like ballroom, you know, the like...
The swing?
Yeah, that swing style.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I might change the instrument with that. And that's the beauty of MIDI. I can record it with one instrument, but then, like, you know, scroll through and try to figure out if there's a sound that...
A different...
That better fits.
So if you record it there, you can just transfer the notes over.
Exactly. So I'll do that now, actually.
Yeah. That's probably one of those shortcuts that...
One take. Let's go.
Let's go. One take.
One take. I wonder if we'll hear the steel drum. Curious. Not quite.
Not quite my tempo.
Yeah, I can't hear it. It's okay.
Do we ever figure out why we can't hear some of these sounds?
I think it's the cable.
Huh.
Animal Crossing vibes.
I'm not mad at it.
I'm not either.
I'm not mad at it. With everything together. You've done it again.
And we could still add that piano motif if I add another MIDI track. Sounds piano. I think there's like a grand piano. Yeah. Oh, actually, I'm curious to hear what this would sound like. We can always undo it. Yeah.
Kind of takes over.
Yeah.
The first three notes don't sound bad.
Yeah. Let's see what this... It's a little similar. I might be too busy with that added.
Yeah. I see where you're going though, to keep it bouncy.
Maybe it
You know what?
Go for it.
Okay. You go first.
You go.
I was gonna say that the hi-hat, like a trip, like a
I think it's something in the percussion. Yeah. I think it's something in the percussion.
Were you gonna say the same thing? Don't lie to me, Tim.
I was gonna say I was gonna say like a tambourine or something to just like keep it moving.
Some on the top.
Let's see what we can do. I think these will work with this.
I ended up on some beatboxing TikTok, like new age beatboxing. Okay. These kids are incredible. Yeah. Everything you've done with Ableton, they're doing with their mouthpiece. Like, it's insane. Crazy. Dubstep.
Wow. Yeah. This is my like cheat for, it's not even a good cheat, but my cheat for like any pop vibe ever is just to add hi-hats on the third beat. And just
keep that balance. Yeah. How interesting.
These aren't the best
hi-hats. Throw it on there. Yeah. Sometimes you need a meal that you can just make in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
It's my
like,
easy mac and cheese.
You ain't always have to do gourmet.
Just to add like that. Let's see. I think I can. So maybe we'll do like a.
Yeah, I think if it's
here.
A little bit late. Yep. That's a cut.
Okay, so what we'll do to add some variety How about we double this length?
We're blowing out the power in this place. Our Twitch is like super laggy.
And we'll duplicate this whole thing. And then we can have one that...
I like that too. That piano adds such a good like payload, like vibe to it, man. Ooh, okay. Oh, now we just adding seasoning. Now the meal is made, but we're gonna bring it out a little bit more. Sprinkle that.
We'll try that. I kind of did as a joke, but we'll try it. Let's see.
Now we went from like a jazzy lo-fi tune to like, let's make this a bounce.
Yeah.
Let's day party this.
And you can change the
Kinda
velocity.
like that
yeah.
Yeah. So once you figure out where you want it, then you can bring it up, bring it down.
Yeah. These little red markers at the bottom will help you.
You're giving me the pieces. And we just gotta put the puzzle together.
I kind of want to double this too, so we can have some variety with the claps. I'm just gonna throw them on randomly. Maybe this one's a little much. Maybe I just want this one.
That sounds kind of nice. That's so crazy. Those last two adjustments we made changed the whole song completely.
Yeah, just
now it's like more bouncy.
So what we can do now, so we've just got this 4-bar loop basically. So we can, I'll go ahead and move everything after it, just kind of out of the way so we have some workspace. So what we can do now, you'll see these little like gray play bars. This just means that the loops here are overriding what's actually been recorded. So we can go ahead and actually record them, and it'll just record over the loops. Perfect. And then if we hit this orange button, this is everything that we've recorded essentially. Here. So what we can do now, I'm just gonna, this is kind of, again, cheating a little, but not really. I'm just gonna go ahead and duplicate all of these. We'll do, so that's 4. We'll do 8, 12. We'll do 16. So that looks kind of like a lot, but we know that this track right here, if I solo it, is our instrumental, and I would say we probably want to lead with that.
Yeah.
So how about we'll lead that for 2. So we'll go ahead and highlight all of these, and if you just hit the 0 key, you deactivate it.
And this is where Tim turns from producer to composer.
And maybe 2 is too long. Maybe we'll have something come in 1. So let's see what this would sound like. maybe I want the bass to come in, actually. Oh, that's the piano. You know what? To make this easier on all of us, I'm going to go ahead and rename these. So this is bass. And this is not delete, rename drums. This is piano. The rename and delete, like the fact that those are next to each other is really evil. Ableton, please fix that.
Yep.
Claps.
Naming your tracks, super helpful.
Big,
like
yeah.
sometimes you think it doesn't help, but once you start getting to that 5, 6, 7 tracks,
exactly,
super helpful.
So yeah, we've got one just in. I think I want the bass to come in, so I'm gonna let those, and maybe I'll let the claps come in too.
Yeah, low and high.
Maybe I don't want that. Now we can have everything come in.
I like that. I like that.
We can add some like pauses for effect. So I'm just gonna take out a section and maybe just leave the drums. Just to, give it some variety.
Yeah.
And then I'll demo the automation tool in Ableton too. So every software has like essentially automation, which is just like making effects happen automatically.
Really?
Automation. So what we'll do is...
Damn, pretty soon AI is just going to be like, here's your beat, give me the components,
Yeah,
and I will make
I'll
the
do it
best
for
beat.
you.
Yeah. It's going to be a sad day.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do EQ3.
I bet we're 8 years from an AI DJing
no, we're not
a festival.
Off. We're not far
For
off
sure.
At all. So if I so it's got the low, mids, and high frequencies, kind of like what we saw before. So if I take out all the lows, it's like DJing. Like you can manipulate those features, and I could take out the highs too. So it really
so you
sounds
can bring
like
it
an
in.
introduction.
Yeah. That's cool because it kind of gives that old radio vibe. Yeah, I like that.
So right now I've turned it down, but it's not changing. So to get it to change,
to bring it back.
To kind of bring it back in.
Yeah.
Again, softwares could have like way more visible features, but this tiny little thing right here brings you automation, and it gives you all of these red lines, and it shows you what they're mapping to. So we're in EQ3, which is what we want.
Show automation.
And we want the gain high and the gain low. Both are at 0 right now. So I can draw a point on this red line. Yeah, exactly. Which is at 0, or negative infinity is what that's saying. And then I can have another point right at about where everything else comes in and drag it up to, I think we wanted 0. Because that's basically like normal. And sometimes it won't actually let you go
get perfect
back to 0.
Yep. So frustrating.
We'll just do it at 0.03 because that's... Well, that brought our lows back, but we want to bring our highs back too. So I'll go back to gain high and do the exact same thing. Create a point. Oh, I want to create my 0 point first. And then create a point to go back up to close enough to 0.03. And then I can turn this tool off. And both should come back by the time we get to the drums and bass. another beauty of just like having all these different sections is we can manipulate certain aspects too. So if we want like, let's say we want the snare pattern to come in later, we can just have it kind of like normal. Just to kind of add some variety.
Differentiate, yeah. Yup.
And the same thing for volume. We can go to the master track, and it has automation tools as well. So if we hit automate again, we can actually manipulate a bunch of things. We can manipulate the song tempo. I think there's something for pitch, but I'm not sure. But we'll just do volume for the sake of this demo. So we've got our own little automation tool here. And we can just drag a point from 0 and then to negative infinity, and that's basically a fade out. So if we were to detoggle this and play back.
I like that fade, you can like feel it coming in. The keys just changed the whole vibe of the song. It's amazing.
It takes your attention from just the sample, so it gives you something else to sit with.
And then that drop off sounds perfect. Fade it out. Yes, sir. Another one in the crate.
In the books.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
That was cool, man.
This is probably one of our best beats, I think.
I think so. Definitely. Can we go back to, before we close out, can we go back to the one from last time and the one from before? Now that it's been some time. To wrap this one up. It started this way, it went this way, and it ended up like somewhere I didn't even see it gone. And I think that's like the beauty of it.
This is actually, so I just put Ableton on my work computer, so all that stuff is on my personal computer.
Fair enough, all good.
We'll have a stream where we just kind of compare.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Maybe at the end of the semester we can go back and just do a listening day.
A listening day.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Low stakes. Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was like informative, if nothing else, then fun to watch.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed this one a lot. I feel like I'm usually under pressure. And I'm like,
the big
beat. But no, this one's fun. It feels like something that I would listen to this. Yeah.
I think we're developing our whatever it is that we have going, and it's just gonna get better from here. But yeah, this is like our studio time. We're not even gonna notice the cameras. We're just gonna come in and work on stuff. And eventually, one day, I'll bring in. Maybe next time, I'll bring in the controller. We can hook it up, and then can do some scratches to go over it.
Oh yeah, that'd be sick.
Actually, maybe I could just hook it up here and just play it live to that, and then we'll figure out how to record into it. Yeah,
I think that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
All right, well,
cool.
We'll leave y'all with this.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in, and again, make sure to check out all the plugs Alex mentioned at the beginning of the video.
Yeah, check out some tech. We got a making space with a graphic designer named Walter Barnett on Thursday, March 31st. April 1st, he's going to be at Holmes Hall at 1:30. It's a making space event hosted by the libraries. Dreamville, we will see you there. We'll be around town. If you see us, say what's up. And then we'll be at Wolfstock. So you'll see a lot of us over the next couple months. Appreciate it.
Cool. Take care, guys.